You know, stars like Megan Thee Stallion and Little Nas X have brought black cowboys and cowgirls to the forefront of pop culture. But for Arkansas's first black rodeo, it has always been a way of life. Self-proclaimed, I should say, cowgirl Jadea Kursh is joining me now live from Arkansas. Howdy.
Hi, hello, howdy, how are you doing today?
Well, wonderful. I'm excited to hear about your story because we've got to find out what made you want to pursue rodeo and being a cowgirl in the first place.
Oh my goodness, is that where you want me to start? I can
Yeah,
start
take us
there.
back.
Oh my goodness, so I have a hoof print on my heart. I love animals, but horses have just really been a way of life for me. And so I was actually introduced to horses when I was 6 years old. I was sexually assaulted. I went through a lot of traumatic experiences when I was really young. My dad went to prison when I was 5 years old, and he did a 13-year consecutive sentence. So it was, I dealt with, growing up, being raised by mom. She had me when she was 15. So I went through a lot just growing up. My grandmother was in prison, so I went to counseling for a while, and this woman, my counselor, her name was Kathy, and she, I went for 2 months. I wasn't getting any better, and she invited me and my mom to her house to come out to her ranch one day. And I always say that this day she introduced me to this horse, and she said, this is a 1,500-pound animal. And she said, if you can control anything, if you can control this 1,500-pound animal, you can control anything that comes your way. And I always say that day that she took me and she put me in a saddle and she handed me the reins to my freedom that day. And I've been riding
Wow.
horses ever since. They're everything to me. They've become my freedom. There's something that, when I'm having a bad day, I can go ride a horse and my day isn't bad anymore. So it's just been a blessing just to even be introduced to horses.
Wow, that's beautiful. Well, give us a little bit of background about what you experienced on your history-making run as a cowgirl in rodeos and diversifying the sport. You've just introduced a whole new world to people.
It has been difficult. I always tell people I've been a cowgirl longer than before y'all thought it was cool. So I went through a lot of racism. I went from, at 13 is when I started professionally rodeoing. I started Pony Express riding, and I did that for a while. And then when I was 16, I joined the Old Fort Day Standy. They were a 45-year tradition. I was stepping on a team with 19 girls that didn't look like me. I was the only black girl. So I came into this industry, and I executed everything I needed to do. I was just as good as the girls that had been on the team for the past 5 years, except I was just joining, so I was able to practice in the same positions that these girls that had been doing it for longer than me were running in the routines whenever we would go compete. So we'd learned an 8-minute square dance horseback, and we would go about 30 miles per hour, extremely fast on a horse. And it was dangerous, but it was a thrill. While I was on that team, I had to address the parents. I had to have a mandatory meeting. I tried to quit. But the coach begged me to stay. There was a lot of, I'd been called a Negro Bob the Builder on the team. I was just called a lot of racial names that, I'm not even comfortable repeating. But I told the coach, I was like, if I can't sit in front of all of these parents and tell them how I feel, then I don't want to be a part of your team or your organization. So she gave me that chance. She made a mandatory meeting. After I'd found out everything that was being said about me in group text. She had known about it. She was trying to keep it from me. So in that meeting, at 16, I was letting, over 30 parents know that I know that the hostility towards me was way more than, the fact that I'm on the team, just letting them know that I knew that they didn't like me because I was black. And in that same, with being on that team in that same year, I was crowned Miss Rodeo Coal Hill, Arkansas, and all of my teammates were there. And, out of all of the 19 girls that were there the day that I won my title, because we had our rodeo competition there as well, only one of the girls come and congratulated me. So it's not been easy by no means. That's why, yeah.
Well, where do you find the strength and the courage to keep going up against such adversity and to power forward? And what message do you send to young people about that same thing?
I think the biggest part of being able to, for me, stepping out, I'm training to be a professional bronc rider right now, and I'm not sure if you know what that is, but that's riding wild horses. And I think what keeps me going is the negativity, is the people telling me I can't do it. It's like the second I realize that I'm bringing you that much discomfort just being here, it makes me want to make you even more uncomfortable. And I feel like in every situation in this Western industry, whether it's dealing with, racism, being in the rodeo queen industry, and them parading themselves off of just now having their first woman with red hair, and 3 years ago they had the first brunette Miss Rodeo America. So for me, it's been able to put myself in these positions where I know I'm making people uncomfortable. Whenever I go into the arena, people take a notice of me. You know, people pay attention to what I'm doing. So I feel like it's been that, yeah, while I'm so uncomfortable and I've grown through these situations, I've matured, of course, I've also been able to show people everything that I'm capable of. Everybody that has ever doubted me, I'm living like my dream life right now. So that's been what's kept me going, is knowing that what I'm doing is so much bigger than anybody that could ever judge me. You know, what I'm you know, you're talking about me because I'm doing something right. So
you are doing more than something right. You are amazing, and we can just give you all the praise for all that you're doing. As the first Black rodeo queen, now that you open the door, we know there'll be so many more that go on and do great things as you're doing. So we just commend you and tell you to keep on riding and keep on getting the message out there to young people that they can break the stereotypes as you've done so well. Thank you so much for joining us
thank
today.
you.